Hello and welcome. Welcome to That Guy's Wrestling Podcast. If you haven't figured out already, I am that guy. I am here today with Dave Van Auken from Fight Bananas. You've seen his face and heard his voice all over the website, all over fightbananas.com. He's doing lots of stuff, keeping super busy. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Dave.
What's up, guys? Yeah, I'm Dave Van Auken. I am trying to take over the world like Pinky and the Brain. So, I'm just happy to be back on. I love wrestling. And, some of the MMA guys like it or have watched it or kind of do the crossover, but a lot of them don't. So I don't get to talk a lot about it. So I'm happy to be back on That Guy's Wrestling Podcast.
All right. And so what we're doing here, now that we have officially completed Takeover XXX, a.k.a. Takeover 30, we're just going to kind of talk about the overall history of them, relive some of our favorite moments and matches, maybe put together some an all-time Takeover card based on, some of our opinions and thoughts. So you have been around since the beginning of the Takeovers. Me and you hit up a lot of them early on, especially when they were at Full Sail, back when they were practically giving tickets away. And then all of a sudden it blew up and became the hottest ticket in town. So give me some of your thoughts about the early takeovers and what that whole experience was like.
Okay, cool, because I have some 30 thoughts I definitely want to discuss with you. I think it's going to be out there, so I kind of want to throw that out there. The early stuff is definitely the best. For one, I think felt like the first 5 or 7 of them, we were both there live. There's nothing like to be at live wrestling events. It had such a cult, had such a home, old schooly, I hate to use those other 3 letters, ECW feel. It just had a really cool, club feel to it. The wrestling was insane. The whole Sami Zayn and Cesaro and Charlotte Flair was doing her thing, and then every single match on the card was amazing. And then the first kind of memory thought, big blockbuster thing, that night of Kevin Owens debuting, and it felt like he was the first of that indie darling to be an NXT superstar. So he did that. Sami Zayn's in the main event versus Neville, who, at the time, Neville was the NXT champion, I think, over a year. I don't know exact dates, but was unbeatable. Sami Zayn won the championship, was this amazing, amazing moment. Confetti, all this stuff. I just remember, it was one of those Kurt Angle, Pittsburgh, PA championship title wins. And then everyone came out. Of course, Kevin Owens, real life friends. Everyone knows that. And then Kevin Owens turning on him. It was just gosh, how good was that? It was just Kevin Owens' debut, amazing. Sami Zayn winning the title, amazing. And then Owens to turn on him. It was just great storytelling. And that's what NXT probably does still to this day better than anyone. Love it. Love it. Of course, we could talk about Demon and Nakamura and more. But those first early Kevin Owens, Zayn, Neville days were amazing.
Well, we'll get into the storytelling aspects of it and my thoughts. I think it's pretty simple as to why it appears and seems to be better. But yeah, that show that was amazing. And as you mentioned, because it was all at the same location and it was the same, the same set of fans for a while, and that's back when they were doing so many, live events and meet and greets. You felt so invested.
Right.
And, felt really invested in these characters. They were fresh, they were new, and it was just so exciting. And Sami Zayn was such a beloved babyface at the time. And that moment was definitely special. I loved every second of that. And like you said, it was nice. We were able to do, I think, 5 or 6 or whatever it was. And then they got big. All of a sudden, the world took notice, and they decided to start traveling and going along with the main roster. The reason I think, and I still to this day think, like you said, their storytelling is potentially a little bit better. What they have working for them is that they are not overexposed. I mentioned this, when I'm talking about some of the Takeover 30 preview, they only do 4 or 5 shows a year. I mean, and so you're not getting the same repetitive matches over and over again. You typically, you get a guy in NXT for, maybe a year and a half if they're a main event player, and then all of a sudden they're gone. That's it. They're off the roster. So there's so much freshness to it.
Right.
And that helps with the storytelling of it.
No, of course, no, that definitely helps. Switching even brands with the new school guys, Raw to SmackDown definitely helps. And, seeing Balor or Aleister Black for 18 months, because it's crazy. Aleister Black, right, debuts in Orlando, WrestleMania weekend, does the debut. He wins a match or two and is kind of like, he's the up guy. There's always, to me, every year or 2 years in WWE, there's a good guy that's like people like more almost than the champion, or they want them to be champion kind of a thing. And Aleister Black was that guy. Like, he was on the rise. And then he has the big title match. Boom. He has the title match, wins. And then he's the champion for 6 months, 9 months. And then he loses it to the next guy who was, I think it was Cien Almas, right? So
he lost it to Ciampa.
Oh, Ciampa, there you go. It's like it's different in WWE because they just had SummerSlam, and then a week later they're having Payback, and it's like they're so quick to have the sometimes they might even want Orton to leave this rivalry as the WWE champion, but they can't. They're like, oh no, we got to make this a 4-month rivalry, 3 matches in between. We're gonna even stick Keith Lee in this and make it this 4 months thing because we have to. Where NXT is sometimes a lot of those main events, Bobby Roode versus McIntyre and Dream versus this guy. It's a one-off. There's not a lot of guys that, if you think about it, other than Johnny Gargano and Ciampa, and how can you not talk Takeover without talking those guys? Other than them two, it's really, how many Nakamura, I think, fought 4 guys. You know what I mean? Like, they don't do a ton of rematches, which is just over and over again. It's this new blood. It's just, yeah. I still think it's probably the best brand going. It's the one show week in, week out, pay-per-view in, pay-per-view out. It's like, oh, I don't miss NXT. Like, once in a while you can miss a Raw. It is what it is. I don't like to, but you can. I can't miss an NXT or especially a pay-per-view.
Absolutely. 100%. I also think that because the matches are fresh and because they have so much time in between, and they're basically all, they're training and practicing and performing, that it gives them that little added extra time to work together on the matches themselves, which definitely helps, elevate them. Just the amount of practice that they get, that's helped with some of the 5-star quality matches that we've gotten over the years. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Definitely don't want to miss an episode. Certainly don't want to miss any one of the 30 takeovers there have been. So we mentioned Sami Zayn. We mentioned him, his title win. Give me another moment of those 30, that really stands out to you.
Okay, well, I guess I will probably use Sami Zayn again. It was same thing. I think probably a year later, WrestleMania weekend in Dallas. It was Nakamura's debut against Sami Zayn, and I might be bullish on it, I guess. To me, it was the greatest match in NXT history. I love a lot of Gargano and Ciampa's matches. There's a couple in there, and it's kind of it's so tough because there's so many, and they kind of run together in a way, and I really can't picture one more than the other. I know they were all amazing, and I loved them all, so I'm not going to try to do that, but I think that one match, that Nakamura's Sami Zayn, Dallas, Texas, the Takeover, to me is the greatest NXT match ever, and I know that Bayley Banks gets a lot of love. I think that Nakamura was number one, and then just kind of it goes with it, Nakamura's next 6 months, kind of before he won the championship, kind of that rise and the theme song, he was so new. It was amazing. I think I really, really was so high on Nakamura in NXT.
Absolutely, and I remember after just being blown away by his entrance. Like, it was, and that's something that they do so well in NXT is the entrances for the top guys, the top stars. They just seem to have a special presence, a special theme song, something that just hooks you immediately. And yeah, from the moment his entrance hit, you just knew that guy had something. And then, yeah, the two of them together, certainly absolutely lived up to the hype. They didn't disappoint. So yeah, that was amazing. And then, I'm going to piggyback right off of that. Seeing the demon Finn Balor,
yeah,
whole persona, that whole character. And it's so he's so lacking it right now. And I've harped on this on numerous occasions, but they need to find a way to bring him back, because that little added something, that little added specialness of it. It's just like, again, it's such art. It's not just wrestling, it's performance art. It's like going to a top quality a play on Broadway, watching these characters come out to a wrestling ring. It's so crazy how well they did it.
Oh yeah, and then there's so many. I remember, and then so we just mentioned Balor and Nakamura, and to me that was probably the height. That was the greatest NXT, and when DIY was a tag team on the first match of the night, there was just so much, and then I felt like it couldn't get any better. And then that next year of all of that, Bobby Roode, the Glorious, the theme music as well, and his run, and then there were so many of these great Black and Ricochet and Velveteen Dream. There were so many of those number 2 or number 3 guys. Almas was amazing. And then all the way the Undisputed Era to Adam Cole. There's this great, rich history of I felt like they never waste a takeover, or they never waste a transitional period, because you said the guys come and go, and you're like, I just man, the main of Nakamura, and then it was Joe, and there was Balor versus this guy. I'm like, God, all 4 of them are in the WWE. I'm like, what are they going to do? And somehow they made it work. It was Bobby Roode and Drew McIntyre, and it was just they really do a insanely great job of building those guys next. Maybe in right now, that's just, and I really do. I have a tangent on 30, and I kind of want to get to it. I think we might disagree on it, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. But even a guy I'm going to throw out right now, like Damian Priest, who just won the North American Championship, they do such a great job of building those guys right there on the rink. And then when Keith Lee does get moved up, boom, they get a guy to really, really take that number 1 spot.
Now, are you going to jump on 30 and say you're not a Karrion Kross fan?
NXT 30 with, I don't know if the time of the pandemic and they were building this card for a little bit, didn't seem as much as others. There's been 30 takeovers, and it was absolutely the number 1 worst takeover in history. No connection. Not a lot of care. There was never a moment. It just felt very clean. It just felt really like cookie cutter. I went to match. I keep on hearing about the female division in NXT. I'm sorry. It's not what it once was. You go down, and I know you're sometimes a little anti on those, on the 4-horsewoman, but even when Baszler was doing her thing, and then Asuka, and then they had great underneath, Io's good. Io is good. I think she's that size. She's the 3rd or 4th. She's the Chris Jericho as a champion. When Chris Jericho is your GOAT, when Chris Jericho is your number 1 guy, I think you're missing the top end guys, like the Dean Ambrose to AEW. He's awesome, and he could be a WWE champion, and he was, but he can't be your number 1 very best guy. I think Shirai can't be her number 1. I think Dakota Kai is a weak challenger. Finn Balor on TakeOver with no Demon versus Thatcher. I'm sorry, Thatcher and Chad Gable and all these guys, that gimmick will never work. Kurt Angle was a real wrestler, but he got over it because he drank milk and he played the guitar and he's funny and he's a dude. That's why Kurt Angle worked. So that didn't work for me. The ladder match was good, but it was I think I've seen that North American ladder match before and it was better. And the same thing. I just didn't really care who won. I really didn't. It was just who was good and who was bad. Just Gargano as a bad guy doesn't work with me, and Velveteen just kind of turned, and it's just I don't even. And then the main event, I like Cross. The Cross needs the crowd for the entrance, and it's probably one of the best entrances going. I thought the match was maybe the worst main event takeover match ever. It was very slow, plotting. I kind of figured that Cross was going to win, and it's just like I left the card. I was like, I've never been so disappointed in an NXT takeover ever. And I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy.
Oh, I know. No, but it's funny because what we talked about at the beginning is the investment we had as fans. And you're right. The pandemic certainly hurt. We were not invested in this at all. The matches and the rivalries, for as much time as they had to build, were very much thrown together. Like you mentioned with Shirai, she's fine. They I don't know what they're doing with Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley should still be the top of that division right now.
Right.
But they just threw Dakota Kai in there, who, is fine. I like when when random people do get opportunities. It's nice to see other, that's my biggest issue with the Four Horsewomen. It's like, I get it. They're good. That's fine. But I don't want to just only see them fighting only themselves all the time, every Raw, every SmackDown, every pay-per-view. And that's what we're getting. So I'm fine with mixing things up. But yeah, Shirai is probably one of the weaker champs that they've had in a while. The division isn't as strong as it once was. They were missing that high quality tag team match. NXT has been known for putting on some amazing tag team title matches. The one thing you didn't mention though is how much Pat McAfee exceeded expectations. And I remember talking about this on the the preview chat I did, and you kind of I remember having you type in some comments. But I said a lot of what if, and what if he really was training? What if he was legit? Like that blew me away with how good he was. That was not a typical celebrity one-off match. That was not a typical even athlete, just that comes in. Like, I mean, him and Cole put on a real match, and it wasn't just that Adam Cole carried the match. McAfee did some real things. So I was very impressed with that. Yeah, you're right.
Here, let me butt in with that. I'm so happy you said that, and I don't know if you noticed, I left that out for a reason. I've been doing over 290 just Fight Bananas podcasts. Our brand of Fight Bananas has got over 400 in this just calendar year. It's on fire, and I left that out for a legitimate reason. To me, NXT, the first 15 minutes of this podcast talking about how great it was, and we mentioned matches and wrestlers and rivalries and connection and all this great stuff. One thing that I think NXT does great in a way that WWE does the opposite, is like NXT doesn't do the cookie cutter or the famous, the mainstream. They don't get Shaquille O'Neal in a battle royal. For WWE, it's super important, and I get it, and I'm actually one of those guys that like it. I don't mind Floyd and Money Mayweather in a co-main event at WrestleMania because it brings so much more people in, and if you can bring more eyes on professional wrestling, I'm cool with it. I'm down. But NXT didn't. Like, NXT to me was a little bit more about the wrestling and the rivalries and the real connection and kind of the real guts of professional wrestling. And to me, this show, Takeover, was a WWE Backlash or Unforgiven or Payback. It was just this 2 hours and 20 minutes that you see on WWE Network on a Sunday night that I'm kind of like, I'm happy NXT is not like that. I'm happy NXT is different and doing their own thing. And I'm telling you, that probably was the highlight. And if that's the highlight of an NXT takeover, that Pat McAfee was a little bit better than what we all thought, I'm not happy with that. I'm super upset with that, and I'm happy you said it because I didn't say that for that reason.
No, you're right. You're right. It definitely, and I mentioned this when I'm dropping another episode this week talking about the entire weekend, and I mentioned like it was fine. It was fun. It was fun viewing. It was good to have a couple hours of NXT. It definitely wasn't one of their, one of their better ones for sure. The bar has been set so high, and we were just missing that investment. We weren't invested in really any of the matches, any of the who wins or who loses. We predicted stuff, but we didn't really care one way or another. And that's where they were missing for sure on this one. And I think that the pandemic did have a lot to do with it. I think you had people that were in and out. It seemed like there were very inconsistent storylines a little bit on TV. People were missing and then coming back. They sent a couple people up, and then they, had some people that they can't get on the program, and it just wasn't the same. So I'm really hoping that we, as we can slowly start to get some fans back into the crowds, we might change that back a little bit. But hey, everyone can't be an A+. It's just, it's just kind of hard to make that happen. Everyone can't have a War Games type feel. And I want to jump into that as we talk about some more positive moments, because that has been a gimmick that NXT has taken. And I don't know about you, but I feel like they hit a home run with the War Games gimmick. I don't think there's been a bad one. I think they've done 3 of them, and they've all been amazing, as far as I'm concerned. So, what are your thoughts on War Games, and are there any other NXT gimmicks that you have been a fan of?
Yeah, I'm happy you said that too. Oh, no, you're 100% right with War Games. War Games is a home run. It feels, the WWE would have Hell in a Cell, and it would be in October, and it would be like, oh crap, this title match has to be in a Hell in a Cell because the pay-per-view is called that, but they've only really had a rival for 2 weeks, and it just didn't make sense. War Games have always felt organic and natural, or they've known that War Games was going to be on this date, and they've been setting up 11 weeks of Undisputed Era versus Viking Raiders and Dream and all this, and it was just like, it's been really organic, and organic is always the best. Oh, and let me get back to that word organic in a second with Damian Priest. Probably my favorite one, and you might be like, really? I am a huge fan of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Like, I've always loved the tournament aspect. There's been great matches through it, and it's just kind of, you wouldn't think that Joe and Balor would win, and some, Pete Dunne and Riddle, and sometimes you have Authors of Pain win, the real tag team and all that stuff. So it's like, I really love the unpredictability of it. NXT does a phenomenal job on tag teams of all those sorts. So, I'm just a huge fan of the Dusty Rhodes Classic, and NXT, they don't do a lot of gimmicks, but when they do, I think they hit absolute home runs. With that being said, my gray with Damian Priest, and I've used the word organic 6 times, and it's probably a Fight Bananas podcast record, maybe. Everyone, when Stone Cold Steve Austin became a superstar, they didn't say Stone Cold, we're going to make you a bad guy, but you keep kind of kicking ass, and then we're going to kind of turn you babyface. It happened organically. There was a black, white, there was a good side and a bad side, and he became this gray, and people got behind him, and they got behind him organically. WWE didn't make Stone Cold gray. And this is what I think. I think NXT is trying to make Damian Priest gray, kind of like what they did with Roman Reigns, and that does not work. It only works when it works organically. Is Damian Priest a good guy or a bad guy?
Yeah, it depends on the week.
That's absolutely absurd when you have your rising star. They put work in and time in, and I think he is good, and I think he is going to be a WWE superstar. But they've put in so much work and he's the North American Championship, which that's a credible champion. I can argue it, it might be even better than the Intercontinental for SmackDown and for the US for Raw. It's a legit title, and he won this great, 5-man ladder match, and it's like, okay, I don't know how I feel about it. And then I'm like, he kind of is good, but then what good guy dude jumps in a hot tub with 2 girls and is like kind of like, not like Chuck about it. He's not should I do this or not? Like, he's doing it with a champagne bottle. Like, he's cooler than us. It's like, I don't like that guy. That guy thinks he's cooler than me. That's not cool. Like, it's just, they're forcing gray. And when you force gray, it doesn't work. We see through it. We're smart. Wrestling fans sometimes we make fun of them behind their back, and if they're listening to it, we're sorry. But most of us are pretty damn smart,
It's funny because that seems to be a thing that they're consciously doing, and not just in NXT, but on the main roster. I've been trying to figure out for the past month, whether Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman, which one of them is good and which one of them is bad. And then after Roman Reigns came out, whether he was good or whether he was bad. And I can't wait for Friday to find out. The way he attacked was good, but then the way he was talking trash, was bad. And it was just like they seemed to be blurring the lines of a lot of people, like you said, like purposely making them gray. And you're right, there's not as much of an organic feel to it. And then even in the Adam Cole Pat McAfee match, I mean, the Undisputed Era is bad, right? I mean, haven't they been bad for a long time? Well, wasn't Pat McAfee playing the bad guy?
Yeah, and I think...
Was Adam Cole good just for that match, or was he just not as bad as Pat McAfee was?
I think that whole thing was to transition Adam Cole into a good guy. I think that's what this whole... And there was probably, even Johnny Gargano, who, that's what I mean, like, what bad guy in the company can you put against Cole and make him good? Maybe Cross, but they had to give Cross the title versus Lee, so that makes sense. So maybe Gargano, but then Gargano has this huge... A lot of people still like him, and he still, to this day, wrestles as a good guy, and he should be a good guy. Him and his wife are smaller, and they're cute, and they're good looking, and they hustle, and they try hard. That's a good guy. Like, him as a bad guy does not work. Like, it hasn't worked.
But see, so yeah, I get what you're saying with the Adam Cole point, but my whole thing was, it really seemed like the whole purpose, the forced Keith Lee title run, was to get the belt off of Adam Cole, so Karrion Kross wasn't going after Adam Cole, who was a bad guy. It almost seemed like they just were like, we need a transitional good guy to put the belt on for a month so we can have Karrion Kross take it from a good guy and not a bad guy. So if you wanted to turn Adam Cole, you just have Karrion Kross come after him and try and dominate him and bully him and make Adam Cole the sympathetic good guy. So I feel like, yeah, there is a little bit of a lost direction at the moment. If you really stop to think about the way they're kind of switching and turning some of these characters, it's like they can't seem to make up their mind. And I think the hardest part is without the fans, without the actual fans in the arena, not the television screens, but without the actual fans, help steering reaction. And it really is, a little bit harder for them to do. So they have to try and sell it with the actions and the story in the ring. And, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
No, absolutely. It's I was so disappointed, and I've never been. There's so many times that I felt like probably even like 8 months ago or a year ago now, the takeover would be, Adam Cole would be headlining, and Undisputed Era would be in the tag team title match, and maybe even like Strong would be the North American champion. I'll be like, I don't know about this one. This one might be one of those ones that doesn't come through, and Pete Dunne would have a classic match, and Matt Riddle would have a great match against Strong, and even Adam Cole would defeat Johnny Gargano. It was like, God, that was just so much better than I thought it was going to be. And then the female match, Rhea Ripley versus someone who was awesome. I was like, they really kicked butt there, and almost in a way they over-delivered what I thought it was going to be. And then for this one, and I'm a numbers guy, there's just something about WrestleMania 20 and this is NXT 30, and I know it probably doesn't mean anything to the writers or to the creative people or even to the wrestlers, but to me it's like NXT 30, and they had those awesome big X's, and it was just like, this is cool, like this should be big. And I know Cross winning the title should have been big, but when a heel defeats your huge babyface good guy, like that's not like a great moment. I know is cool for some of the wrestling fans, but it's like that wasn't kind of good. And then, like I said, Damian Priest won, and it's like I'm kind of not happy with that. And it was just like this middle. And the female match, how it ended, it's Rhea in there, and they're like, maybe if Rhea turns on Shirai right there, I was like, okay, maybe I can dig that, and Rhea can be a monster heel because they're usually pretty good at that with NXT, and there was just so much of like, and it was just like, I just didn't care or didn't connect, and it was just like, but talking about connecting, I'm going to transition right to here. It's probably, I love doing outside the box things with you, that guy. NXT has absolutely the greatest theme songs in the history of professional wrestling. And I want to throw out a couple, and I want you to, am I nailing it, or is there one or two to you that is a little bit sleeper that should be on this top 4 list. And do you agree with me? Is NXT doesn't have the greatest effing music in the world?
They really do. I don't know how and why they are able to do that. It's sometimes the music is better than the wrestler, and it makes the wrestler. And
right.
Then for some reason, yeah, I don't know why that is. But all right, let me hear where you're going with your top ones.
Okay, so yeah, like to me, the top 3, I don't think there's a lot of argument here. I think these are no-brainers. If number 1 isn't Glorious from Bobby Roode, I still, when I wake up in the morning and the kids are still sleeping and I'm going to walk into the shower, like I play Glorious, like I got 10 minutes of freedom before my 9 kids run and jump on me. So Glorious has to be number 1. Bobby Roode, him in NXT would have beat Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6. He was just that hot with the theme song. Everyone loved the theme song. And, I'm just so disappointed what happened to him post NXT. Number 2 has got to be Nakamura. Nakamura's motion with it and his moves and just the whole, show and the lights of what Nakamura did with the song, to me, is just it's the total package. And, him in NXT, I can maybe even argue he's the greatest NXT superstar of all time. It's an argument. And then the last one, of course, to me, is the Finn Balor, Demon Balor. It's the nothing like that song and all the arms going up. I remember that first NXT Brooklyn, and he's out there and the whole crowd's doing it. It's this big, massive crowd for NXT, and the same thing, the look and the show, and the arms are up, and it's dun 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 dun. To me, those 3 are just unbeatable. And there's some other classics, like a dark horse is that Aleister Black. That's a great one. But those are the top 3. Am I right?
Yeah, I think I'll give you that. As the top 3. I think I like Nakamura as 1.
Ooh,
I think just the entire crowd, like it's fun to sing Glorious, but like the entire crowd we used to sing along to the Nakamura theme song even after they stopped playing it. And as someone, like, I was able to continue to go. I was there at Full Sail pretty much every week for the last few years until the pandemic started. And so just being part of that crowd, but yeah, just hearing them, they would, just continue going along. And then the match would start and the crowd was still going. Oh. So there was just something about that little extra that ranks it up there. But yeah, those would probably be the top 3. And I'm going to throw 3 more out for you. And I'm going to lump them all together because they had the same effect on the crowd. But Sami Zayn, Johnny Gargano, Good Guy, and Bayley. All 3 of them, like when their music hit, it was just happy, dancing, energy. Like there was just something about it that the crowd just, it just like livened them up. Just the way, and you see Sami Zayn, the way he dances, coming out of the entrance now more, like that whole thing, like the whole crowd, you just wanted to do it. And same thing with Johnny, and then same thing with Bayley in her prime as a good guy, good girl. Like there was just something about her when her music hit and the Bayley buddies popped up. It was like you just had to smile. You were just happy. And so, and all 3 of those, they're kind of from different eras almost, different periods, but they all worked and they all provided the same level of happiness and joy, like just by hearing them come on. So those would be my next 3 probably after that. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 that, that we're all forgetting, I'm forgetting or you're forgetting.
Here it is right here.
The Undisputed Era for me, as soon as that shocked the system and then that, you just want to keep doing that. So I'm a big fan of that one as well. But what was the last one you were going to mention?
The money come.
Do you hear that?
No, I can't hear it.
Oh, that's the Tino Sabatella.
Oh, yeah.
God, that was so good. Tino Sabatella, the WWE GOAT. Oh, my God, the greatest theme song in the history of professional wrestling.
The song was so good.
It was.
Again, the perfect example of someone whose theme song was so much better than as the wrestler.
God, rest in peace, Tino. Rest in peace.
All right. I got a trivia question for you.
Oh, I got answers.
Which wrestler, and I'll give you 2 guesses for first and second because they kind of far away are the winners on this category.
Gosh, I'm so excited right now. Which wrestler
is number 1 and which wrestler is number 2 in main event takeover matches? And I don't mean the way WWE calls a main event, like where they have 4 main events out of 6 matches. The actual last match on the card, which wrestler appeared in the most of those matches? And then the second place is right behind him by one. So that's why I'll give you a chance to kind of guess.
Johnny Gargano.
Johnny Gargano is 1 with 9.
And I'm just going to assume I'm going to go off on the limb with Tommaso Ciampa.
No.
Ooh.
Uh,
So 8. It's going to be out of a Cole Balor. He didn't have it long enough. I can't miss this one. This is it. Bro didn't have it long enough. Main event. It wasn't Ciampa. I'm going to go out on the limb and say Adam Cole.
You got it. Yeah,
Okay.
Adam Cole with 8.
Okay.
Balor only had 4. Balor wasn't there long enough.
Wow.
And the best part about Johnny is not only did he have 3 of them in a row against Adam Cole, he had 3 of them in a row against Ciampa. So there were 2 different periods where he was in the main event 3 times in a row with the same guy. So that was your That Guy's Wrestling Podcast and trivia question for the day. You did very well with it, getting the number 1 answer correct right away. So yeah, you were right. I had questions and you had answers.
And
Really
that
good.
was sponsored by Fusion CBD products. Check out FusionCBDproducts.com to get your Fusion CBD today. Put in Fight Bananas. Put in Fight 2020 for 20% off. God, look at that. We're making money. Didn't even know this. This is so unscripted. I love it. Yeah.
Where's my check? Where's my check then?
Okay, so if
Wait, I want to do something. Do a little exercise. A little sort of. I don't know. We can keep going, or we can wrap things up. I don't know how much time you got.
I got 42 more minutes, so I'm ready.
Oh, good. All right. So a lot of the people have a tendency to complain about the booking once they leave NXT and they make it to the main roster and they're not as happy. And you think, and as we look back at some of these matches, some of these moments, all these names we've mentioned, well, it's so easy for a lot of them to be near the top because, as we've said, they're there for a year and a half. Well, what if they were all here at the same time? If you had to put a triple threat NXT world title match together based on their NXT characters, what 3, who would you put together to build your ultimate NXT Takeover world title match?
Wow, maybe the greatest question in the history of the Fight Bananas Umbrella podcast. Unbelievable.
Before you answer, let's just say I'm also going to jump down the list and ask you a similar question for the North American, the women's, and the tag team. So put your answers together carefully, and let's build us the greatest NXT Takeover card there is.
Okay, I'm happy you said that then, because it was funny too, because off the top of my head, 3 names went right to it, and I almost was going to take one away, and now I'm so happy you even said that because I feel so much better about it. To me, easily 1 and 2 is this. It's Shinsuke Nakamura and the Demon Finn Balor. So those
are my 2 right away.
Those are my 2 right away. And then I was going to put in the heart of NXT since day 1 to now, Johnny Gargano. But I was like, you can't have all 3 kind of good, and they're all similar and all this. So I was like, you need a heel. So I'm having Balor and Nakamura as challengers to, at the top of its peak, I have Bobby Roode, the glorious one, as the NXT champion walking into this match.
Ooh, that right there, that could be it. Ooh, in their prime, in their NXT prime. I had a real hard time picking that 3rd spot. And honestly, I had it down to, I keep going back and forth between Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe, and Sami Zayn.
Oh, yeah.
I thought what you thought about not wanting to go, 3 good guys, but I don't know. There's something about, you said heart of NXT. Well, Sami Zayn was the heart of NXT for a while.
Right.
I do agree with your point about, Bobby Roode at the height of his NXT was super popular. So you know what? I could settle in on that one.
Oh, you like that? Okay.
Let's make that happen.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's go for your North American title match.
So, and I love this too because you already said tag team. So I'm going to say that I had the same thing. I have a heel Adam Cole as my North American champion. You can argue him and Rude, and there's no wrong answer there. But so if he didn't make the top one, he's been the North American champion for 7 years. He's owned it. He's the honky-tonk man of North American championships. So I got Cole in there. So I definitely have Sami Zayn. So to make this the greatest match ever, I was going to throw in Gargano again, but I'm saving him for a special moment down the card. So I got Cole as my champion, Sami Zayn as the heart, and the sleeper, maybe one of the greatest NXT competitors of all time. I have Aleister Black in my North American Championship match.
Oh, that is a good one. I'm saving Adam Cole for something special as well. So I like the Sami Zayn pick. I think I would actually probably put Kevin Owens.
Oh, wow.
We forgot about Kevin Owens.
Yep.
So I would think to like to go Sami, Kevin. Oh, that last spot is tough. Who were your three again?
Adam Cole, Zayn, and Aleister Black.
Oh, Aleister Black. There you go.
Yeah.
So I'd go Sami, Kevin, and Aleister Black.
Oh, that's a good one, dude. And it was Aleister Black or I almost did Velveteen Dream. When he was at his highest high, God, there was not a lot of, and you have a Ricochet. We haven't even mentioned Ricochet. Holy crap.
I'm afraid to mention Velveteen Dream on a thing. I don't.
Okay. We're erasing him like we're Chris Benoit on him. Holy shit. Okay.
Before I continue on, speaking of Chris Benoit, speaking of Velveteen Dream, all right, this is a public announcement to the wrestling fans of the world. Stop being idiots, okay? Those of you that for some reason think it's funny to put ridiculousness on the Thunderdome faces, Thunderdome screams, like, stop being worse than NBA fans, okay? NBA fans, the NBA has been doing this video screen thing since the bubble and the playoffs and whatever else, and they don't seem to have any issues. Why do wrestling fans, why do they have to be idiots? Why do you have to be idiots and try and put the ridiculous? There's been quite a few things that people have put on the screens. I don't know if you've seen all of them yet. They seem to pop up on Twitter. Guys, stop being, don't you're gonna take it away. Why can't we have nice things? So, yes, that's what I'm gonna say about that. You want to be on the screen, great. Stop putting things that are going to get yourself banned and get the thing taken away. All right. That being said, let's do the women's real quick. Let's throw together a triple threat NXT women's match.
Well, this was the easiest one to me. I didn't even think twice about it, and I think out of all people, you're going to be so super upset. This match...
Well, okay, let me hear. I was going to guess, but let me hear it. Okay, go ahead.
This match does not have Asuka. It does not have Shayna Baszler, who you can argue are the two most dominant, maybe the greatest. And I understand it. Ric Flair is WCW, and if you think of female NXT, Asuka and Baszler, you can argue is 1 and 2. I got them both out, and Becky didn't have that run until she became the man in WWE. It is easy. Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. Those are the three. Am I wrong here?
You know what? You could say no. I mean, some people could easily say no. I personally would have Asuka and Shayna in there, and I thought about Charlotte, but she just drives me crazy. I would put Bayley in there as the underdog, face. Because NXT Asuka and NXT Shayna were just so dominant. So there was just they just crushed it all the time. As you mentioned, Becky didn't have the run. Alexa Bliss was nothing.
How about Paige? Paige in there.
You what?
How about Paige?
Paige was the first, but not. I don't know if she was near any of them. Honestly, you know what I mean. I don't think she'll be remembered as being the first. But what does she have a classic? Classic match, classic moment, or classic lengthy reign? No,
you're right. That's why she didn't make my list. Charlotte, Banks, and Bayley. Oh, that's great.
Banks and Bayley. So you know what? Can't go wrong with that. Before we get into the tag team match, I'm going to say this. I have secretly planned my own War Games match. I would like to see a rematch of the Undisputed Era and Imperium. To me, that match that they put at Worlds Collide was just off the charts. That was one of the greatest matches that I had seen. I would like to steal. So that's why I purposely have kept Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, and I'm going to keep the undisputed tag team out of the triple threat tag team match, just so I can have this special War Games match and throw that in there. All right. So I'm going to go with that.
You are the William Regal of this time. I'm telling you. I love it.
I'm William Regal of this time. I do what I can. All right. And that leaves us for the tag team match.
And this would be the first match on the card, and this would probably be the show stealer, the match of the night, and I love it. It's so psychologically perfect. The champions are the Revival. They're going to challenge the Authors of Pain. You got these crazy, great heel tag teams. It's a ladder match, and you have the heart of NXT, DIY, Ciampa and Gargano kicking and clawing and scratching and jumping and biting and doing everything they can to become the NXT Tag Team Champions. I got Revival, AOP, and DIY.
We're going to be unanimous on this one.
I love it.
I think this was the easiest one to me. And I find it amazing how we literally could have put Gargano and Ciampa in any of the matches.
Even the female match.
We could have put wigs on them and put them in the women's match. They really could have fit any of the matches. I don't know how we were talking about some of the greatest matches and moments. I don't know how we didn't mention them winning the tag team titles. Was just, I think that was the one that was in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
The one they absolutely won.
Gosh, that was so good.
God, that was so amazing.
Yep.
All right. And then because you called me the William Regal, I'm going to throw the pre-show match in there. And we're going to go with a hard-hitting, finger-breaking submission triple threat between Samoa Joe, Pete Dunne, and Matt Riddle. And that's going to be my pre-show match. And that's just for guys we haven't. And there's, beyond them, there's still plenty of guys that we left off. So
I know it's funny that you said that, and you said hard-hitting, and I was waiting, and you never said Drew McIntyre. That's why I thought you were going with that.
Well, that's funny because, as great and as hot as he is right now, like, I don't know, in NXT, and, I'm going based on the NXT versions of these people.
Right.
He was probably behind all of these guys.
Yeah, no, you might be right.
So for those people that, again, question the booking once they get up to the main roster, like, that's how you build a card with those guys. And that's putting triple threats and war games just to fit everybody in the card. And then that doesn't include, the other main roster stars that you've already got. So it would be so hard I couldn't imagine trying to book. I mean, we all question the things that the main roster does, that the WWE does, and they deserve it sometimes. But I couldn't imagine trying to, if we had all these as wrestling figures as a kid, trying to put these together as matches constantly. And trying to make it work every time and not leaving people off the card or letting things go, it's got to be, a super, super hard challenge to do.
No, absolutely. This has been fun. I love putting together dream stuff and situations. I loved your creativity there. Home run. I'm going to come on and we can maybe close on this. And this is, I think, a really smart creative. This has been Super Pro NXT, and we talked about how great all these guys are and girls are at their time. How about this? I'm going to throw this one out there. Left field. Who is a wrestler, guy or girl, that NXT did them a disservice, and they had to move on to Raw or SmackDown to become everything they are today or better? Who was someone that maybe didn't get all the shine or love in NXT that they should have?
Ooh, this is a good question. I assume you have an answer built in, which is why you asked this, or are you just throwing this out there to put me on the spot?
Well, I have one, and because you threw it out there to McIntyre, and I get it, and that's kind of, I guess, the easy one because he is the WWE champion. He just defeated Orton at SummerSlam, Lesnar at Mania, won the Rumble, so I get that, but there was someone you kind of said their name 10 minutes ago. I'm like, wow, this person.
Are you talking about Alexa Bliss?
Yes, Alexa Bliss. She's my answer.
Yeah. She is great, and she was one of those ones that just came up out of nowhere, and then was given no real shot, no real matches, no real whatever. She was a manager at best, in NXT, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, she was, the first dual show, champion, first one to win Raw and SmackDown, and like a 5-time champ, and she's a Money in the Bank winner, and
she had a hell of a run, it's like 18 months ago for like a year. She was the biggest Raw female superstar there was. Like, she was bigger than Charlotte. She was bigger than, it was kind of before Becky Lynch turned into the man. Alexa Bliss was one of the greatest female wrestlers in the world. In NXT, she was just a sideshow piece to Blake and Murphy. So it was just like, I think, to me, Alexa Bliss was my answer.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect one. I definitely agree with that. I was trying to even think of a second option, and it always tends to be the other way around. But there are a couple that are still trying to make names for themselves. Guys like Elias, guys like Apollo Crews, guys that really didn't do much of anything, and they certainly haven't lit the world on fire. Elias for a while was really gaining in popularity, and Apollo Crews is currently a U.S. champion. Neither one of them did anything in NXT. Usually it's the other way around. Usually they're a little more successful in NXT, and then they get called up, and they do the EC3 or the Sanity thing, where they just for some reason get called up with no real intent of actually doing anything with them. So those two were a couple of the more reverse cases of disappointment, I would say.
Right. Wow. What a show. Wow. NXT 30. Like I said, I hope NXT 31 is better than 30. I was just super disappointed. I just need more. I need more connection. I need more one-on-one legit rivalries. And the same thing. It's almost organically to make just Cross a good guy. Like, he should be this devil-y creature bad guy with powers of fire, but The Undertaker's a good guy. It is what it is. Like, Cross, you might just have to make into a good guy, and, Brock Lesnar had to turn into a good guy. He was just so dominant, and people just liked him, was so in awe of him, they had to turn him face, when he came to SmackDown 18 years ago. So, I'm not sure what's next. I really hope they have a really bounce back couple of months, maybe getting Raw and SmackDown out of the PC and let them kind of, stay by themselves and do their thing. I just think people are misplaced in roles. Who's good? Who's bad? Where we are on the card. There's just no way that you can have, to me, a wrestling card that Finn Balor and Gargano are in the first two matches and kind of just, you really don't care about what they're doing. They're just too damn good. And you got guys higher in the card like Priest and Lee and Cross. It just, I don't know. And Ciampa wasn't even on the card. I don't know.
Ciampa, you were missing Pete Dunne. You're missing the tag titles.
Yeah, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with the card.
You missed the whole rest of the Undisputed Era. So, yeah, you were certainly missing a lot on the card. And, it is what it is. As you said, I hope things do get better. It does seem like there are, glimpses of hope as far as potentially letting fans back in. I don't know what day this episode is being broadcast, what day that you are listening, the people at home are going to be listening to this. But Thursday of this week, me and my son will be at the Daly's Place in Jacksonville at the AEW Dynamite show. They are letting 10% of the fans in, and I am super excited to see live wrestling. Of course, I'm WWE number one, but I love good live wrestling, and I'm hoping that this is the first step in allowing, a little bit of fans back into arenas, because, it just misses it. There's nothing... they feed off the energy of the fans. There's nothing better than live wrestling and the energy in the building. And it's, this pandemic has definitely hit it hard. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful that it's been going this whole time. But yeah, let's hope we can get things back to normal before too long.
Oh, that sounds awesome, man. Well, I hope you have a good time with you and your boy. Man, I've just been loving listening to the shows. I can't wait till you do another retrospective show on one character. That one that you did with The Undertaker 4 months ago was incredible. I think I've listened to it 3 times. It's like I don't know. It's like I feel like I'm learning through something that I've watched. It was just really cool. I love the idea. How about you doing one on Shawn Michaels or something iconic like that? Kurt Angle, your guy. That would be bananas.
I would love to do a Kurt Angle one. I do have a couple of those actually. Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I do have a couple of ideas of similar type shows in the works. But yeah, Kurt Angle. I might have to step Kurt Angle up to the top of my list, being that yes, he is one of my all-time favorites. But yeah, thank you for participating. It's always great having you on the show. I love it because we end up just talking a whole lot, and the show runs, super long. It gives those people that are, maybe doing a nice long car drive or a nice long, bike ride or exercise, gives them more time to listen. So, thanks for having me on. And yeah, if you go ahead and make sure you are following, subscribing, liking on iHeartRadio and iTunes. Look for Fight Bananas and look under the Fight Bananas umbrella for That Guy's Wrestling Podcast. And we are tapping out.